Hello, and welcome to another episode of Empowering Equality, the Inclusive Workplace and Supply Council of Canada, or IWSCC's podcast on all things supplier diversity. I'm your host, Alex Dirksen, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with my guest today, someone who I'm getting to know on the show and more as the time goes by as an IWSCC corporate member, Elizabeth Auceda from Deloitte. Thanks so much for joining me, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Alex, for having me today. I'm very excited to be part of this information session. So looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, excellent. Let's dive right into the information. I want to know all the little details. And to be honest, when I think of Deloitte, it can be one of those organizations that I know the name and I've heard it before, but it can be a little tough to imagine what goes on inside those skyscrapers I see in downtown Toronto and behind those elegant desks and full of busy professionals all working in different directions. Such a large organization. So to start off, can you tell me a little bit more about what Deloitte does?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It is a busy place. It's a fast place, and we're definitely right up there in our skyscraper working away. So Deloitte is a professional a firm that does audit assurance, consulting, financial advisory, risk, tax related. So a lot of professional services
Gotcha. Okay.
services in those areas. So that's what we do. Now, does it limit us to those? No, it branches out to a lot more. So definitely it's a big organization to understand. And even I am learning every day. We are a huge corporation, a global corporation, international corporation of within 150 countries and about
Wow.
450 employees. So we're big.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I think that starts to make a little more sense. I know the world of professional services is sort of that big umbrella, can be itself maybe a little bit of a mystifying term, but it sounds like Deloitte's an organization that handles a lot of those things that help a business tick. That maybe also go unnoticed, kind of those important gears that operate under the surface, like taxes and auditing and professional services like that, that we don't always notice or that we take for granted because it's not the surface level thing. It might not be sort of that thing that a civilian crosses paths with or your average client. But nonetheless is absolutely crucial to help a business grow and succeed. So such a big, busy beehive. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what Elizabeth does at Deloitte. And maybe, if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about how you found yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am fairly new at Deloitte. I have about a year here. So I am a newcomer, and this is why I am learning every day of the corporation and what the services and everything they do within the clients. So I actually came on board about a year ago to start their supplier diversity program within two areas. And one of the areas, which is person with disability business owners, as well as the Black owned businesses as well. So those are
Okay.
two areas that I came to bring on and start and implement. And this is why we're here today as well.
Yeah, for sure. I hearing that you're kind of, a newer team member at Deloitte, I think we have that a little in common. I just passed my 2-year anniversary here at the IWSCC. So I myself have also gone through a big learning journey, and I'm always learning more about the supplier diversity space. And so much about the strengths of entrepreneurship, of small business and medium business ownership, and of course of diverse business ownership, sort of the unique qualities and lived experiences that contribute to innovation, creativity, and new competition in the supply chain, which is kind of what we're all about.
Absolutely.
I'd love to pick your brain then, as from your perspective at Deloitte and helping build out that program. What does supplier diversity mean to you, or what do you feel is like a kind of a definition for supplier diversity?
For me, it might sound a little bit different from others, at least. So I do come previously from a previous employer, and I did oversee their supplier diversity program.
Okay.
And I actually came into the supplier diversity area, I guess as a trial base. At least that's what I'm going to call it myself. Reason I say trial base because they're like, hey, we need somebody to do this, and we think you can do the job. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'll try, and if I like it and if I enjoy it, if I think it's something I should do, I'll stick to it. But if not, I'm coming right back from where I started. And that's how I came in. And as soon as I started working with the different entrepreneurs and the different communities, it was kind of something that related to me that I really didn't think about. I myself come from a minority background and grew up in different areas, faced different barriers as well. But I've never stopped to think about it until I came to this space. So
Hmm.
not only did I could relate, it also was sort of a sense of looking at my barriers that I hid back in those drawers I never want to open,
Right. Yeah.
and saw an opportunity to be an advocate. And the way my advocacy looks like, I'm an advocate for the entrepreneurs coming into Deloitte, but also an advocate for Deloitte to the entrepreneurs. So it's a to and from, right?
Hmm.
Because definitely that is something that we need. Well, at least myself, I find I need to do. I need to be the voice of those entrepreneurs that can't come into Deloitte or not in Deloitte as yet, but also the advocate for the company that I'm also in as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's and that's it's another definition for supplier diversity that we use a lot is it's sort of an opportunity for businesses who might not have had a chance yet or might think that they're not capable to have a seat at the table to get to take part in the competition. And if they are the business that's like the best fit or that and that earns earning those contracts, taking part in big programs like procurement, all those complex procedures that go on, especially for large organizations like Deloitte. It's more opportunities for success and for growth for communities that historically maybe haven't always had as much of a fair shot at being at that table. We've kind of unpacked it a little bit, and I don't mean to give you a pop quiz on all these key terms, but sometimes it can be great for our listeners as well. So I've talked a little bit about how Deloitte is an organization that's a corporate member of the IWSCC. Could you tell me a little bit about what that means to you to be a corporate member for a supplier diversity council like us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I came on to start the program. And one of the things that, we do is we start searching what resources are out there, what support can we use, what organizations are there. And to my surprise, there wasn't much. There wasn't much out there that could support a program that specifically is looking for a network, is looking for resources, looking for best practices. There's not much out there. So one of the things I did lean to was IWSCC because I've known about the work you guys do, the support you guys provide, and even in even looking at it through the government to see what are the stats saying. There's not even much in there as well. So
That's right. Yeah.
IWC is essential for us to work, and even though there's still lots to do, we could all combine it together so the corporate members you know leverage what IWSCC has provided, but also to what are we looking for? We
Hmm.
can go to IWs and say, hey, okay, you haven't touched on this, but could we partner? Can we leverage this? Can we work something out to bring this forth so that way we can have more visibility within the community?
Yeah, we're
So
always
I think
happy
it's
to
very
support those partnerships for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, hey, great to hear you say that. We always love to hear that any member of our community feels like they can rely on us or reach out to us for advice, for help with practices and building out their programs. As a supplier diversity council in Canada, IWSCC is the newest, is the youngest, and so much of that I think is reflective of the business climate that we've had here in Canada, where observing, like you said, there's just not a lot of data or a lot of information on not just how many disabled owned or veteran owned businesses are in the supply chain, but even how many are there? Uh, what size are they? Where are they located? Important figures like that. And it was our founders that started to notice that gap here in the Canadian economy. Attending conferences and events for other diversity groups, maybe businesses owned by women or minorities, Indigenous peoples, or even members of the 2S LGBTQI plus community, as they floated around to these other events for these fantastic business groups full of like-minded folks who want to network with each other and do business with big business. That space didn't really exist yet in Canada for persons with disabilities or for veterans, and those two communities intersect quite a bit as well. And so here we are to fill the gap ourselves, ideally. And we're working hard kind of every day to build out programming to support that community and to conduct research to help support those gaps in the stats that, like, the world of business is supported by information and measurement and metrics and so on. We want to be able to really contribute to that meaningful progression and that analysis of progress and success and all that fun stuff. So if I'm a diverse supplier, maybe I'm listening to this episode right now, and I'm thinking, well, okay, I want to learn more about how to do business with Deloitte. I'm sure we can't get through the whole process of procurement and unpack that whole can of worms. But do you have a recommendation for maybe the right first steps to take if I wanted to become a supplier or a vendor to Deloitte?
Yeah, so we've also taken a different approach to the supplier diversity program. So we don't have a public portal right now. Right now, we have an invite only portal, and the reason why we've done that, at least today, or at least for the beginning portion of it, is so that we can provide utilization for who we have in there right now. For
Right.
example, if there is 20 um, office supplies, could we actually use those 20? Probably not. So we're trying to be very strategic and seeing who, what, things that we will utilize, things that where we can expand, and when we could have 4, 5, 6, whatever the number may be, we'll add those in. So right now we just launched our internal portal, which actually March. I'm looking at the date. I'm like, what is the date? March.
Time flies.
So yeah. So we've taken this time to ensure that it is accessible. So there's accessible features, and that took us quite a while to work with the provider. And I think that's what took us so long, and also testing to ensure that it meets different requirements. It is at a accessible compliance state right now, and we'll
Great to
continue
hear.
working on that. So that's kind of what we are now. Now, how to get into the program, one would be, get in touch with IWSCC. And we're looking not only for certified, but also self-certified. There's a lot of companies that are self-identified, but we need them, to look at certification if that's an option as well. But I'm the first point of contact for our program. I review, I have a conversation, I have a one-on-one to ensure, one, that is something we could utilize, two, if something we can add to the portal, or maybe it's something that, I need to just have it as a reference. So things change from 1 month or 1 quarter or even 1 year from now. But if I have that information available, I can always reference it. And have done that in the past. Is I may not have a position right now for it or
Mm.
need for it, but that need may come along where I can reference, because we've had that conversation. I've already reviewed you, and there's possibility potential there. So it's me. I'm your point of contact, but
Definitely,
definitely. Mhm.
we love supporting that sort of review and that introduction process as well. It's a big part of what organizations like IWSCC does, is help facilitate those networking opportunities and those opportunities to connect with purchasers and from reps from those organizations, to get your foot in the door and have the opportunity to connect, and more importantly, to start building those relationships. Something that you said that I think really stood out to me, and maybe even as such a large organization, a small business owner can probably relate, is that focus on cultivating the relationships that you do have, and not being afraid to focus on those and to build those out, and to be open to, of course, new relationships coming in, and so on. But it sounds like the strategy right now is by focusing on the threads that you have available to meet new suppliers, and new diverse vendors and so on. You help build out those relationships so that if the opportunity isn't available now, it might still come up in the future. And that's such an important piece in the procurement space as well. And doing business with big business is sometimes it can be a little bit of an exercise in patience. But it's also because, when those opportunities come up, that's your chance to have your seat at the table, to take part in the competition, and to develop a new relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we are coming a little bit to the end of our time here, and I always have a few personal questions I like to ask, because I think it's really easy to think that all these large corporations and so on are these big monoliths, sort of just a big scary building full of people, full of mystery and so on. And really, they're made up of just regular people doing their hard work, especially in the supplier diversity space. Earlier, you mentioned that it was kind of you sort of found yourself in this space, like, hey, can you try this out, see if it works for you? And I feel like so many supplier diversity professionals and a lot of the folks who work with the supplier diversity councils like us, myself included, find themselves in that sort of position where you kind of, some people stumble upon it, and some people are sort of like those founders as well. But either way, it's a space that really pulls you in as you get to know all these business owners and get connected with this incredible community. Anyway, sorry, I like to gush about it, but before we kind of move on to some personal questions to get to know Elizabeth a little better, do you have anything else that you'd like to say to our listeners about Deloitte, about connecting with you, or any exciting opportunities you've got on the horizon?
Yeah, so right now we're rounding up for our new fiscal year, which ends in May. So definitely, I'm interested in hearing of all different areas: IT, events, team building, anything and everything at this point right now, just to bring to awareness of the different options that are available, and understand the community, the needs. We're also looking, if you have dealt with Deloitte in the past, what were your pain points? What were your barriers? Is there anything that I should be looking at that maybe I have not seen? So, I do. I'm open. I'm open for a conversation. I'm open to exploring and reviewing. We have a whole accessibility team that I also work with, that is not also within the procurement, but within Deloitte, looking at accessibility at all areas. We have 4 pillars, and accommodation, education, procurement is one as well. I believe I'm missing one, but I can't remember right now. But the point of that was that we are looking to expand accessibility in all
Yeah, always
areas.
looking to kind of stretch it out throughout the organization and.
Exactly, exactly. So we're definitely on the journey for accessibility in all areas within Deloitte and as well as externally as well. This is why our portal took quite a while to start up because we wanted to ensure that we looked at it at all angles, and we'll
Definitely,
continue.
it's an attitude that we recommend to anybody. You know, the best way to set yourself up for success in the accessibility space is to do your best to think of it from the beginning. And if you're not sure, there are tons of organizations out there that you can ask questions. There are tons of groups like the IWSCC that you can reach out to get a little more information on how to start your accessibility journey as well. So when you're making new plans, or even if you're sort of updating existing things, it's never too late to get started on that accessibility journey. Um, as a busy professional, um, I'm sure you don't necessarily have like a lot of free time. Lots of folks in the supplier diversity space have their hands in a lot of pies and are super active in a bunch of different spaces. But when you find a little time to yourself, what's something that you like to do to relax? Do you have any hobbies or interests that help you find that work life balance?
I do. I do a lot of community work on the side, which I truly enjoy
Yeah, cool.
doing. Definitely, I don't do much outside because I love the warm weather. So once the warm weather comes back in play, I'll be doing a lot of outside hobbies because I do enjoy the sun. I think it's the inner, my inner calling, my inner background that I prefer warm weather.
I can definitely agree. Sometimes it feels a little shameful as a Canadian to not say I absolutely love winter and it's my favorite season ever and I could go tobogganing anytime and so on. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I'll still say that I love me a good beach. I love a good cottage. I love the sunshine, and I can't wait. We're recording this now. It's like spring is right around the corner, and we had a little cold snap, and I was very sad about that. But it's coming. It's coming soon. I can smell it. I can feel it. It's right around the corner, and I'm so excited for summer this year. Um,
Absolutely.
Another great way to spend time over the summer, whether we're kind of like on vacation, we're taking some time off, or we're just getting our workday started. It's always important to start the day with breakfast, with the most important meal of the day. I happen to be very passionate about breakfast food. In another life, I was a fry cook. I was making all day breakfast for people. So I'm always curious, Elizabeth, what is your favorite breakfast food?
I would have to say it is plantain. So we have a
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's something that I always grew up with, and that's what I think of. It's plantains with a fried or a poached egg.
Yeah, see, like nice and simple, but such a great way to start the day. It's not an answer that I've heard before or that I hear very often, but it's a wonderful way to kind of get a little bit of an energy boost at the start of your day as well. So I love it. Maybe I'll put that on my list to try this summer once the sun comes out.
Let me know what you think about it.
Absolutely, I will. And my last question for today, I think for some folks it's an easy question. Sometimes it's a tougher one, but for life or for business, and for our listeners at home, what's a good piece of advice?
Um, well, for life itself, I mean, always think of the positive. I know we're really in a really tough time. There's a lot of not the greatest news out there. But we have to also look what's the light at the end of the tunnel. It might be very, very far, but think of the positive that eventually will come around. I think right now we need to have an open mindset because just of the whole turmoil that's happening. I mean, any subject that you think of, there's something not so good about it you're hearing. So
Hmm.
think of the positive that's out there, and definitely it will get better. It will get better. Actually, just talking to someone else within the supplier diversity space, they're like, how do you do it when you get a lot of closed doors. I'm like,
Mm.
I actually I listen to a podcast on supply diversity or somebody speaking on supply, and it just motivates me once again and saying, okay, this is why, this is what's going to happen. Once again, looking at the positive of it. So that's my little tip for today is look at positivity.
Yeah, I love it, and it's a wonderful way to end our conversation. It's the next thing I'm going to do is all a great positive part of my day was getting to have this conversation with you and get to know you a little better. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Elizabeth.
And thank you, Alex. I really appreciate your time and IWSCC for all the support that they provide to
Excellent.
us.
We love to hear it. I couldn't be happier. And of course, thank you to our audience for joining us today. Empowering Equality is a show hosted by the IWSCC, or the Inclusive Workplace and Supply Council of Canada. We connect disabled owned and veteran owned businesses with opportunities across Canada. A big thank you to Pod Supply for producing this episode, and to our sponsors RBC and Bell for supporting our American Sign Language. As our 2024 ASL leader, RBC helps us provide ASL for our show, if you're catching this on YouTube, as well as for all of our events, with additional support from champions like Bell. And that interpretation that you're seeing, if you're catching this on YouTube, is supplied by Maple Communications Canada. If you want to learn more about the IWSCC, you can visit us at www.iwscc.ca. If our listeners want to learn more about Deloitte, where's the best place to do that?
At Deloitte.com.
Deloitte.com, easy to remember. And you'll find that link down in the description. Sorry if I caught you off guard there. But yeah, folks, absolutely go and check out Deloitte. If you loved this conversation as much as I did, like, follow, subscribe, favorite the show, Empowering Equality, IWSCC, Deloitte, Elizabeth Auceda. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to stay positive and look for that light at the end of the tunnel. And as always, keep on empowering equality. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.